I'm here with John Clark today, and John, first off, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be here with you, Reid. It's great to have a chance to chat with you about this. So I'm John Clark. I'm running for the 1st Tennessee Congressional District position to replace Phil Rowe, who is retiring at the end of this year. So my background basically is I'm a conservative Republican. I'm pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-business, pro-jobs, and pro-President Trump's policies, economic policies that have been working so well in the past. I'm also a man of faith. I'm a family man. Been married 37 years to my college sweetheart. We raised two wonderful daughters, and I spent a 36-year career as a businessman in the medical products manufacturing industry, and it was a great industry because we were producing products that improve patient care and save people's lives. So really enjoyed coming to work every day because I felt I was making a difference. And then and I'm also a public servant. 7 years serving, giving back to my city of Kingsport, where I've been living for the past 25 years. After my 36-year business career that ended 5 years ago, when I retired, decided to give back to my community. And somehow, some way, I got involved in the Board of Mayor and Alderman, which are, um, you know, uh, those are elected positions. And so I served for 3 years as an alderman and 4 years, 2 terms as the mayor of Kingsport. My term finished up last summer. And I have to say that that was a great experience because I had a fantastic opportunity to work with really great people to really do 2 things. One is to improve the quality of life for our citizens in Kingsport, and the second was to ensure a very prosperous future for our city as well. And I felt that after 7 years of helping manage the city's business, that we accomplished an awful lot on those 2 fronts. So I was very proud of the work that we did there. One thing I do want to point out, I am not a career politician, don't want to be. Uh, I already had my career. It was a great career in the private sector, and so not a career politician. In fact, I signed. I was the first candidate in this race to sign a no more than 3-term pledge uh, to serve in Congress, and I did that because I want to get something done. And I'm not interested in going to Washington and being there for 10, 20 years. That's not what I'm all about. What I am all about is making something happen in a positive way for our citizens of the 1st District and for my fellow Americans. And I feel if, just like any other situation, when you're in there for a short, when you're in some task or some job for a finite period of time, there's a tendency to want to get things done sooner. There's a sense of urgency. And so that's why I'm going to Washington to serve no more than 3 terms and to make something positive happen for our 1st District residents. So when you combine my business background and my public service background or experiences, I think that's a really good combination because I learned in government how to get things done, how to bring people together and make something happen in a positive way. And so also, I had a chance firsthand to create the government that I, as a conservative Republican, feel we need, and that is to create an environment for the private sector to succeed. In private sector, I mean you, me, the residents of this area, businesses, and that's what the role of government is, in my opinion, to keep us safe, but also to ensure that we create a real great positive environment for the private sector to flourish and to prosper. And so that's my background, I think, in a nutshell.
So you alluded to it a bit already, but why have you decided to run for election for U.S. Congress?
Yeah, thanks. So after my 7-year term on the Board of Mayor and Alderman in Kingsport, I really thought I was going back to the private sector. That's where I thought my interest was. And then taking a little bit of time off to kind of reflect on what was accomplished and what I want to do next. Over 2 or 3 months, I concluded that my passion was still in public service. So that was important. Secondly, um, what I have learned in public service is that it's a family affair. And because what happens in public service really impacts everyone in your family, one way or the other. And so it was very important to have the support of my family involved as well. And then speaking to Congressman Rowe several times, he basically mentioned that he was still undecided. And so my hunch was that he wasn't going to run based on my interactions with him. So those three factors came into play, and that's really why I decided to run for this. Again, the fact that I still had a major passion for public service, which is really, to me, whether it's local or at the federal level, public service is the same reason to get into it for me, and that is to make a positive difference in the lives of our residents in this region, and 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 so to do that by really focusing on improving your quality of life and also ensuring a prosperous future for our area. So those are the reasons why I ran. Passion for public service, family support, and also Congressman Rowe that I thought would not run again, and as it turned out, that's what happened.
What do you think is the biggest issue facing our country right now?
I think the biggest issue we have is, I think I think there are a few of them that are very, very important. The first is to get our economy back on track again. Up until about 2.5 months ago, you and I were living in a time where we had the best economy in our lifetime. And I felt the country was really sizzling, moving forward. Job creation was at an all-time high. Opportunity to succeed, opportunity of the American dream was at an all-time high. And then this pandemic hit, and then everything came to a screeching halt. So, number one, I think we got to get our economy back on track. The second issue has to do with socialism, which is another main reason why I'm running for Congress. Socialism to me means bigger government, and bigger government means less individual freedoms for all of us. I don't want that to happen to us in our district, in our state, and across our country. That to me is not what America's all about. Socialism rips the heart and soul out of the American spirit. And the American spirit is what I believe has made our country great for the past 244 years. It has not been the government. It's been the American people. And what bothers me about these leftist socialist Democrats up there, and I'm speaking about Nancy Pelosi, AOC, the Squad, that's in the House side. On the Senate side, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, and even Joe Biden. These are all folks that want to move our country to socialism, and to me, it's un-American. That's not who we are, and so I think this president needs some reinforcements to help him fight that battle up there. So the socialism, I think, is very challenging. Needs to be dealt with in a real positive way. And then the last is our national debt. So the national debt, unfortunately, our government takes in $4 trillion a year, but we spend $5 trillion a year. So we haven't balanced the budget in years. And one thing I want to do as a businessman and a public servant, you got to be able to balance budgets. And so we've done that. I've done that. I have experience both in city government doing that as well as in managing a business. So the three things I think is getting our economy back on track. Second is to fight this movement to socialism. And then the last issue has to do with our national debt. And the first way to deal with that is to balance the budget one time, to understand how to do it, and then from there on continue to balance budgets so that we have a chance to manage our day-to-day living in a fiscally responsible way. That's the conservative Republican way. And then once we do that, then we can put together and start driving the 10, 15, 20-year plan to reduce our debt to zero. So those are the three major problems that I think our country faces, and I would love to have an opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. and to help drive that. Locally, I will tell you, I think there are two areas that I want to focus on locally. And what's great about this opportunity um, is that this this congressional seat, Reid, includes 12 counties and 18 cities. So it's a unique position where the congressman has visibility and works with all of those counties and cities. And what I want to do is to work with all of our great mayors and elected officials, um, our city and county managers, educators, employers, workforce development personnel, and also the economic developers that we have, all of whom are working every day in all those areas to do two things. One is to bring better jobs to our area, and second is to improve access to health care. So on the job front, I really want to use my congressional office to work with these partners that I just mentioned in order to help them succeed. Because if they succeed, then the region succeeds. We all win. And so on the job front, there are three things I like to do. Number one is to help them recruit businesses with good paying jobs and benefits to our area. Second is to help our existing businesses grow and expand with a skilled workforce, and that is through workforce development. And fortunately, we have great facilities and programs there. And the third is to help entrepreneurs launch successful new small businesses. And I think the region overall over the years, has really built a great foundation for that to happen. So that's on the job front. On the other side is access to health care. The first thing that I want to do is use the congressional office to partner with our teammates to help keep our hospital doors open, especially in the rural hospitals. Many of them are not surviving from coast to coast. So it's important for us to make sure that happens. In one area there, Congressman Rowe and also Senator Lamar Alexander changed the Medicare wage index formula to make it much more fair and reasonable and acceptable for our hospitals so that they're paid fairly, compensated fairly for the medical procedures that they provide. But that's not law yet. So the next congressman needs to ensure that becomes law to help keep our rural hospitals open. Second, on the medical front, healthcare front, is the issue around access to our great facilities. We have a regional healthcare system now where we have access to more facilities and more doctors. And I know that some citizens are very concerned about being able to have access to all those facilities and those physicians. And so I think we have a chance to build a healthcare transportation model that is unique across the state and across the country, that focuses on ground and air transportation to ensure that in our large geography of the first district, that everyone has access to our great healthcare facilities as well. The third has to do with the drug epidemic. We still, unfortunately, in our community, we suffer from drugs on two fronts, really. One is the opioid issue that we're aware of. We're the epicenter for that. We got to continue to make improvements there with prevention, treatment, and law enforcement capabilities. But the other has to do with illegal drugs coming from the southern border of Mexico. Fentanyl, meth, and the issue around heroin is also very strong in this area. So, helping shut down the border in Mexico with a wall, with giving border agents what they need to be successful, whatever it takes to stop this flow of drugs into our communities that we see right here in the first district. And the last piece about mental or healthcare has to do with mental health. And as mayor of Kingsport, we've tried to tackle all these things, but the homeless situation is one that all mayors are dealing with in our area. And so, having better access to mental health facilities, I think, is very, very important to help some of our residents that are suffering in that area. And of course, that includes our veterans, our homeless population, and also some farmers too. So those are the 4 areas that I want to work on in healthcare too. So locally, jobs, better healthcare, and then up in Washington, going there to preserve our freedoms that are under attack, fighting socialism, and also helping President Trump drive his economic policies. So those are the aspects of the job that I really want to focus on. as your next congressman, and that's why I'm excited about this opportunity.
And you just gave us a couple of plans that you have, but are there any other plans that you have if you are elected?
Yes, there's a jobs plan that I recently unveiled that talks about how I'm going to help drive jobs both here locally, but also helping out nationally. Locally, there's several things, as I mentioned, that I really want to use the congressional office to partner with my team here. That includes our, the partners that I mentioned earlier. But also want to, as part of that assistance, I would like to, hold a job summit if I'm elected within the first few months. I'd like to hold the job summit where we, bring our employers together with workforce development, economic developers, our educators, everybody coming together to figure out what are the jobs that are available, how much do they pay, what skill is required, where do our citizens who want to work in these areas get the training that they need, and last but not least, the most important thing of all, how do we implement a plan that brings our citizens together with our employers and through workforce development as the bridge. So having a job summit, I think, is very important. I know how to bring people together. We did it in Kingsport as well. We had a summit 4 years ago when I became mayor to solve our growth problem, which we did address and solve that problem. And I think we can do the same with the jobs here. I also want to, I think, have an economic developer on my staff as a full-time employee who works with our partners in order to ensure that the congressional office is participating and helping out and pitching in as best we can. So those are the things locally. The summit, and also having a person on staff who's charged with making that happen, bringing good jobs to the area. I think the other area has to do with up in Washington. I think we have a chance to continue to take job-killing business regulations off the backs of our businesses to make it easier to do business and open up businesses. So regulation reform is very important, passing legislation for that. I think also passing legislation, tax cut for our small businesses. As they hire more people, they earn more tax cuts as an incentive to help launch new businesses and to help our small businesses survive and grow and prosper. So those are the things that I would say on that front as well, on the job front.
And before we go, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I'd just like to say that thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Again, my name is John Clark. I'm a conservative Republican. I am all in for the 1st District to improve your quality of life and also ensure a prosperous future for our region. I like to say that I'm American-made and that I'm Tennessee proud, East Tennessee proud, which I am very much so. And I really, really want to be your next hands-on and hardworking congressman to fight for your freedoms, for better jobs, and also better access to health care. And just like to ask thank your listeners for listening in. And I hope over the next 8 weeks that I have a chance to meet many of them. And I would like to work hard to earn their support and also their vote in the upcoming August Republican primary election. So thank you very much.
I want to thank John Clark for joining us today.